All right, thanks for joining, y'all. It's April 3rd already. March is gone. It's April 3rd. All right, so uh, you'll see my work that's published at aceofcoins.club. Okay, these are video series. You'll see there's some new things up there. I'm doing a new joint venture, so I'm creating a new series. It's I mean, it's there. I'm providing some more services there and some more content, but I'm still adding content to everything everywhere else. So it's there. So, but anyways, aceofcoins.club and then also aceofcoins.com is I set that up to where people can have one-on-one consultations with me. I set up a consulting package through that website. There's an order form. I still use the PDF file. Works out pretty good. All right. So, and then we have some promotional sites, but I'm not going to get into that. So this evening, I thought there's been some questions. Hey there, Ray. There's been some
Hey,
questions
John.
lately about this Amazon thing. And so with Amazon, the reason why I even mention it is because I understood from Kyle and whomever that they had solved the problem of the small seller, which Amazon was, this got that fixed, but I think there was a communication problem. However, there is no reason why, as a small seller, you should be, abused in the manner in which Amazon is doing that. And so I'm with you guys. If those of you who are in Amazon, and I think still Amazon is an opportunity. In the meantime, Kyle was smart enough to switch everything over, and for many of us, over to Walmart. And I know that, like for me, I've got money tied up still there, and they're hitting it, and I've got inventory tied up there, so I'm kind of stuck there. And I'm like you guys. And so what I wanted to discuss this evening is the way you would to deal with this, right? So we have a contract. Each of us has a contract. However, you entered into the contract with yourself individually or your LLC, probably your LLC. I use an LLC. And so there's a way to proceed forward if you feel like the other party is doing something wrong. And so where you start is where everything started. Everything started with the contract. So we have to start there and look at it. So before I get off on my rolling along of nonstop, talking, does anybody want to make a comment or introduce something that's related to this before I get started?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, please could say, just jump in and say.
My question is, is this gonna be something we can have the recording, or should I be taking active notes here?
Notes if you want, but I am recording this and I'll make it available to you. It's going to be published on YouTube more than likely. If it's not on YouTube, I'll make sure that each of you get it. Okay. I am making, this is the tutorial. I want to use Amazon as an example of how to resolve things. I'm not, I didn't recommend people go to Amazon to set up an opportunity like this in order to get into all this dispute. I'm just going to share with you, this happens and this is how you deal with it. So
I can
I have a
comment.
question.
Well, go ahead.
there are ways to look at it. So first we have to describe what the heck's going on. Is there someone else that wants to say anything about
Thanks,
this?
Ray. Thanks, Ray. Yeah, I have a question, John, because I also got into the Amazon, but I got a little bit late, just before they were before Limits Express is gonna dump Amazon, saying, okay, we can't deal with it. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, Amazon, so I had nothing in the inventory, zero. And they kept on saying, we want to see where you're getting the products. We want for everything that you have in the inventory. But I'm like, but there's nothing. So they closed it, deactivated the account, even though there was nothing in there. And I kept on making screenshots. I'm like, can you? This is the proof that I have nothing in the store. They closed it anyway. So none of my money is tied up there. But I was going to eventually send some of my books there, which I don't know if they're going to reopen the account. So I don't know if I did I get any damage? Can I even complain about it?
Okay, if you lost money, yes. If not, then they're just jerks. Okay. There's got to be,
They're jerks.
yeah, really. I mean, that's so, yeah.
Hi,
So,
John. Hey, well,
yeah.
and this is Bill Gregoriff. So we have an account that got deactivated, and they've deactivated it. We've given them, with Limits Express, everything that we can give them, over and over and over and over and over again, and we can't. We just get running in circles, and they can't do it. And they've got our inventory too, and whatever profits we did have, they've just about eaten it up, and they've still got a big chunk of inventory that we can't get back because they've deactivated our account.
Okay. That's good to note. And that's where we all are, basically.
Okay.
All right. So here's what I'm going to share with you what we can do. So the first thing is we got to go to what started everything, which is the contract. And the reason why I say it that way is because these types of contracts exclude all other representations, right? There's always a term in there. There's a contract that just says what you see is what you get. So what's in this contract is everything. And when you look at these contracts with these large corporations, you see things like you can't sue us. You can only use arbitration. You waive your right to a jury trial. You can only go to small claims for $10,000 and less. You can't join a class action, etc. So it makes you wonder, why would they have to do that? Maybe there's a good reason, but I think in this example, judging by Amazon's conduct, I believe that these elements demonstrate a fraudulent intent. Now, it's important to note that fraud vitiates all contracts, but not always. Maybe fraud vitiates a portion of a contract, the portion that would preclude you from going to the court, right? Why would Amazon not want you to go to court? Because if you go to court and make a claim against Amazon, everybody can read it, right? And if you're really good at explaining something, other people might say, wow, that's happening to me too. And if it's public record, right? So you can take that information, then you too can be a plaintiff, right? Against Amazon. They don't want that. They want it to be private, hush hush. That's the biggest advantage that Amazon has in arbitration. But if their scheme, if their contract is part of, a fraudulent activity or something, then you can make the case that the arbitration clause doesn't apply to you, or cannot be enforced, right? So I'm thinking there's another route here, but here's what I did. So I'm going to share with you, and I only did this once, and I did a brief effort here just to demonstrate what can be done. And we've been talking about this, my friends and I've been talking about this and what to do. And my part of my thinking is, do I want to spend more time for 10 grand? Because we have 10 grand of inventory or whatever. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's worth it. Just because if it's not worth it for that, then maybe I'm going to let someone steal 100 grand from me, right? I should do something about this. Maybe it'll help the next guy. Attorney is competent, I recommended to other people that we find an attorney, right? Not to ask them what to do, but to tell them what to do. No attorney wants to sign on because they're afraid of Amazon. There's something going on there where maybe Amazon is so big that they'll, do something to that person's career. I don't know. But so we almost have to do it ourselves. And I know that many of us have LLCs, right? So my thinking is you should represent your own interest because you have an interest in your LLC. Therefore, you don't need an attorney. You can come in and represent your own interest. Now the courts aren't going to like that. I'm going to tell you right now, but I think legally you can represent your own interest, but I think there's a way to go here. So let me just share with you what I did first. I'm going to show you this doing a screen share. And so, like I told you, we start with looking at the contract, right? Why? My question is, if I'm looking at the contract and I know what's happening, the set of facts that I'm dealing with, right, that got my attention. And if I take that set of facts, and if I integrate it into the contract and I say, well, the contract says we're going to have to do all these things, and here's what's happening. Is there a violation of the contract based upon what's happening? Well, that's what you would do. That's how you analyze a case to see if there's a cause of action. If you have a right to sue or a right to make a claim or a right to go to arbitration or something like that, there has to be a bona fide dispute, right? So you take the story of what's happening and you measure it against what the provisions are in the contract that you agreed to. And if what's happening is outside the contract or in violation of or something, well, then yeah, you might have a claim for breach of contract or something like that. So I did a pragmatic thing. I used technology. This is a 45-page contract that was written by sophisticated lawyers over a long period of time to squash people like me. Okay. So I took the 45-page contract and I fed it to the AI, just your regular chat GPT. And I said, what do you think? Here's what's going on. And this is what I'm telling you right here. So I'm showing you this, my version of it. Okay. You guys can see me highlighting this, right? Okay. And goes on and on. These are issues and questions I derive from my observation based from what you're telling me, what I'm seeing with my account. Yeah. And I have some idea of what I think might be a violation or some cause of action. That's my idea. I'm asking the chat GPT to weigh it against remedies that are, first of all, specified in the contract. And then also we can get into more detailed. I just did this one brush over, it's real fast. Okay. If I put more time into this, I'll come up with a really nice written pleading if we need to file something. But I like to avoid court if I can. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. All right. So sharing this with you, you guys can see this, and yes, I'll make it available. I don't know how I do that. I can email it to you or something. I don't know. I'll put it on Telegram, put it that way. I'll put this file I'm sharing with you on Telegram. So I'm asking the AI this. I need your help to review this, right? I'm just gonna talk to it like it's an assistant. Now, it was so amazing. I love this. So I give it to the AI, and like as I press the button as I looked up at the screen, it says, I've reviewed. I'm like, oh my gosh, 45 pages. I've already reviewed it. Here's what you do. So here, it's answering all my questions. See? There. It goes right there. How many of you have this situation? It's counterfeit. Well, did you investigate it? You're in breach of the contract. Boom. You see that? So then the only thing now is, what do I do? Just looking at that one little teeny tiny thing, right? What's my remedy? Well, they made this quagmire of trying to divest the court of jurisdiction. So there's no issue of fraud in this one particular analysis. So if I have 10,000, you guys might have 5,000. There's a provision in the contract, I believe. You'll see later on in this analysis where you can just go into small claims court for $10,000, which I probably won't. All right. So we get into this. Get into this. Is the contract regarding arbitration unconscionable? Well, there's a definition of it. And here we go. Is it overly one-sided? This is the 2011 case, guys. You can pull this on the internet for free. I didn't do it. I didn't do that, but you can. Let's get educated. It's important. Let's teach Amazon a fucking lesson. Is the contract unconscionable? I don't know. We can see what the provisions are for unconscionability, right? Look at clause 18, right? Okay, what are the remedies? File claims through Amazon Seller Central process, which I believe some of you have tried to do, or Kyle did that, right? You can start arbitration. I don't know. It might be very expensive. That is one avenue. You can also challenge the arbitration clause to get past that and go into court on the merits of the case. So you'd have to first try to get the arbitration clause invalidated if you want to do that. Class action says you can't do that. Or the courts might override if it denies substantive justice, which would have to be an allegation. I think it denies substantive justice. I'm just saying, this is what your analysis would look like. Now, if you took this contract to a lawyer, and the lawyer's never going to tell you stuff like this, but if you had a pretty good attorney that does, business contracts like this, his analysis or her analysis will come up with this. But you can do this now because ChatGPT, even though it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's AI, but I mean, it's a little bit more than that. All right. It's a little bit more than a lookup tool, I should say. So it asked me, would you like me to draft a legal argument? See, I'm building this. You can't just go to ChatGPT and say, save my life. this particular body of statutes and tell me if there's a penalty for such and such, right? It'll do that, but you have to give it the information and you have to ask it that question. So I'm asking it, what would be my legal argument? And so it's saying, it's asking me, would you like one? I'm saying, yeah. And I asked for the whole petition. So let's see what it comes up with. So here's a petition to commence arbitration, right? Notice how it doesn't look like you're captioned pleading in court, but it'll work, right? So here's the parties, the agreement. We have to show the agreement. Clause 18 says arbitration, the nature of the dispute. There you go.
And John, one thing I think is, because I've heard this from other people, that the administrative relief doesn't make any, doesn't help.
It denies.
It's not meaningful. It's not meaningful.
It just denies substantive justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I'm not into class actions. I don't think those are effective, but I'm gonna give you some ideas here. But just worth noting, claims and remedies. There's a breach of contract. There's unjust enrichment. You could just sue for damages. You took my money and didn't deliver it. You're unreasonably withholding it, right? You can say, look, I want my account reinstated. I want the money sent back. I want damages, right?
Conversion of my property.
Yeah. Yeah. So in order to have a cause of action, really you need money damages. That you can't just be frustrated. You can't sue because I was frustrated. You have to sue for money. Usually. The petitioner, because well, probably if you get to go to court, I don't know, there's probably a venue designation here, but you might even have a cause of action in the U.S. District Court, in which case your claim would have to exceed $75,000. Now, you could just allege exceed $75,000. That would be enough, but it really should, and so forth. And that opens up your arbitration. But the important thing here is the nature of the dispute. Okay. So isn't it nice that we could feed the contract in there, ask some good questions, and have this tool give us the language that describes the kind of dispute we have? This is where I find people have a loss of articulating a thing that's going on. It's always the case because, y'all are experts at some things. You're not experts at everything. And it's understandable. You don't have time to learn all this language, but this is a nice tool to have it. And we don't have to rely on some lawyer like it's a black box and hope he's going to do the right thing. So there's an example. So let's see. So I'm asking for a pleading too. Here's one I can make in small claims court. I think many of us would want to do this. I'm thinking if you're into it for $5,000, and yeah, they're trying to take your money, but they're trying to do like storage fees and stuff like that. You're still going to sue them for the $5,000, and they don't get their storage fees because it's due to their own actions that they got that money, right? They're not entitled to that. So this is what it would look like in small claims in most courts. You can use a checkbox form too. Your clerks have, like in California, they're really good with the checkbox forms. No problem, use them if you want. But here's the information that has to go in that form. See this? It's really nice, a nice guide. The AI did this. It's so simple. 2 pages. You should just do this. March right into small claims court and just do this right here.
Yeah,
right?
the failure to investigate is a huge thing. Exactly.
I think you'll win on that. Some of these judges, they'll say, oh, really? Amazon. Some of them are like that, they know. And then would you like it tailored to a particular state? Let's see, when can I clean false state challenge arbitration clause? All right. So here's a complaint if I want to challenge arbitration clause. So I'm working with the AI to kind of, etch out something I could try to, figure out my course of action here. My first one I'm thinking is small claims court. Just get your money back, and really, I mean, the returns are pretty good. It's a pretty good opportunity. What I would suggest is you do something that Kyle didn't do. I'm not faulting him. It's okay that he didn't, but he didn't understand this part that we're dealing with right now. And so the way to deal with it is, how we always talk about how to set up bank accounts with, we have to deal with the what, the KYC and all this jazz, right? The beneficial ownership is 25% or more, then you have to give me your ID and all this stuff. And some of you have actually gone and set up LLCs with 5 or more members so that you can avoid all that. It's kind of cool. I mean, if you guys work together, you can start making nominee corporations for each other. So if you got together in groups of 5 or 7 or 8 or whatever, and you set up companies and you go to Amazon's chief counsel. You don't go to the front end consumer-ish type interaction with it. You go to chief counsel and say, hey, we want to take advantage of Amazon and its facility, but we don't want to be exploited. How you're treating these small sellers is wrong. And would you be willing to have an agreement with us where we do this? We have this organization, we have a commitment of, let's say, $250,000 of capital or whatever it's going to be, right? Maybe we have a commitment of, let's say, $10,000 of capital from every person, and we have 7 people, right? And that if these people are happy with a relationship that you can provide us and we can make some money, we can put in, 10 times that amount or something, right? This is what I'm saying. There's a remedy and it's worth it. I mean, I think you want a piece of retail sales, and Amazon is almost a monopoly now. And Amazon wants to take over Walmart too, if you didn't know. So anyways, but look, this is to challenge the arbitration clause and the class action waiver. You can do one or both. I don't like class actions, but I'll suggest something to you here shortly. So there we go. There we go. Look at that. Nice legal citation. Shepherdizing. Shepherd. I don't know why that term is used. However, you could take this legal citation, Armendariz versus Foundation Health, right? And you can look at other cases or other holdings that are similar to this holding. It's called shepherdizing. And so there's an index. You find it in your law library, but you can do it online too. Probably it's a paid service, but to shepherdize a case, there's an index that actually you can find in the law library where you can look up this case in Shepherds. Okay, look up this case in Shepherds, and it'll give you all the other legal holdings that are similar to this one. Now, you can also use the Chat GPT for this, but just be careful about how you do it. You gotta kind of like, you can ask, generic question. I don't know how to coach you on that one, but you'll figure it out. We can probably talk about this some more in passing on other calls. I don't mind doing that, but I did want to dedicate this call to this subject. Part of the reason why I want to do this is because I want to use Amazon as an example. If you have disputes with other organizations, this is what you do. You start with the contract. You analyze the contract. You find out what your rights and remedies are, and then you find out how to execute those. Do I got to go to small claims? Do I have to go to state court? Do I have to go to federal court? Am I precluded from court? Am I stuck with arbitration? What's my remedy here? What's real? Now, there are some things you can be creative with. All right, so count 2, class action is unenforceable. I kind of don't care about that, but look, here it is. I got it from the AI. And here's what I want. Again, I want to get past this arbitration clause, right? So that's the end of it, okay? Now, I will put this document, I will put this on the Telegram, so hopefully you guys are on there. Hey, Karen, what do you think?
I think that's good. I feel bad for all you that got inventory and money stuck on there. I actually had just sold through my inventory and got all my money back, and then they closed it and I had switched over to Walmart. But anyway, my question is, can you go back to the beginning of your AI analysis? And didn't the AI say something there about the small claims? Did the AI say that the contract has something against small claims? What did
I don't remember. Let's see, come here, statements of fact, your help. I don't know. I don't know, but you guys can look at, can stores sue in small claims? Qualifying under clause 18. So, okay, I believe clause 18 says arbitration, but if your dispute's 10,000 or less, go to small claims. I think so.
Yeah, I see that in other contracts too. They allow small claims for a small
I
amount.
would like to avoid trying to invalidate a clause in the contract. I kind of like to go get my remedy at the face value of the contract. I don't want to challenge the contract if I can avoid it. You got to have a really good reason to do that. I think we do, but I'd rather get my remedy and move on, you know. But the 10,000 small claims will work. Now, let's say you have a claim for 15,000 or 25,000. You could still go to small claim and get it heard, but you would have to waive the balance. Now, I've seen banks do that before. You can only recover 10. Unless you can work out some sort of deal with them.
Yeah, it depends on the state. Some states are 5K and some are 15 and different numbers. Like Georgia's 15.
I think California's
Colorado's 5.
Yeah, California's like 25.
Mm-hmm.
And
think so.
can an individual represent the company? Can you explain how that works?
All right, so here's the kind of you got all these issues to keep you out of court. Like small claims, you should be able to come in there and represent your own interests and or the interests of your company if you're the 100% owner. Or if all the owners show up, you don't need an attorney because you have the interest in
Mm.
the company. You have to make that argument though. You don't need him other than you need him to appear because he's a bar member. Unfortunately, this is the system we have right now. It needs to be stopped, but that's what we have. I can't take on the whole world like that, but we have to understand what it is. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's my thinking is I'll come in there as my own representing my own interest and make that case first. So, but anyways, think about it like this. So this contract, how are people, the small sellers, how do y'all think the small sellers getting the attention? Is Amazon looking at the small seller saying, yeah, we let him come on board. We let him buy $5,000 of inventory. And then once he gets all stocked up, we freeze his account and say he's selling counterfeit goods. Is Amazon doing that? Possibly. But maybe there's more to it. Is Amazon doing it because it knows the larger sellers want it to do that?
Yeah,
Or-
probably so. It comes out the same.
Or can Amazon not do anything until someone makes a complaint saying, hey, that guy over there is selling counterfeit goods? Then Amazon can get involved. Possibly. So my thinking is, if you cannot sue Amazon straight up, pick one of these larger sellers and sue him just to get it into court. Just to get it into court now. Now you have two parties in court. And now either Amazon's going to become a witness and you can investigate what it's doing through this other proceeding, which it can't defend itself very well because it's not a party to the proceeding, or you and another person can get together and sue each other just to use the court proceeding to investigate the claim through Amazon. We could subpoena all their records. Now they can't defend themselves because they're not party to the case and we're not suing them. We're suing each other. Ah, see, they didn't think of that in the contract.
Yeah.
So if you want to,
So you're
taste of
suggesting
their own medicine, you
two of us,
start two
you
small
know,
claim cases, start two small claim. Start one small claim, two people start a small claim, okay? The first thing you do is a subpoena ducis tecum for records and interrogatories to a non-party under the rules of civil procedure.
seeing specifically what how they determined the goods were counterfeit.
Yeah, ask how we got here.
Mhm,
I mean, we think about it. We could think about it. We could think about a nice battery of
mhm,
questions.
mhm,
Now,
mhm.
I just went over with you. There was a provision in there. The analysis that was given by the AI said that you agreed to in arbitration only like 15 interrogatories. That's under the contract. But when you do that, like I'm showing you, they're fair game under the rules. It ain't 15. It's whatever the rules say.
And also, you could both stipulate to do more.
You could do that. You
Since
could do
it's
that.
friendly
You could
litigation.
do that. You see, you're right. You're right. See how it just goes. And if you got 15, let's say, then two other people bring a new case and they do more. I mean, if we did something like that collectively, if we just started doing that together, it would cost us a few $100 maybe. And think of it like a hobby. Now, we don't need to occupy all the time with this nonsense, right? We could just say, okay, fine, lesson learned. Let's go buy a dry cleaner down the street. But then you're going to run into something else. And this is the kind of thing you run into as trying to, make money. You're going to run into this because it's a dog eat dog world. It really is. It doesn't have to be. And it's not always like that. Many times you have pretty cool deals, but sometimes it's like that. And you might be actually your opponent may not be Amazon. It just may be that big seller. But I just
But
think,
John, I have a question.
yeah,
So wouldn't it, okay, so based on that scenario you just shared, the best thing to do then would be, because I've been talking to Kyle and the whole team about I want everything, because I was going to do that notice and demand,
I
like we
think you could
talked
do that.
about.
So that's one thing I
You-
didn't mention yet, which is you
Demand
start
letter.
the whole thing with a notice and demand to chief counsel for Amazon. I think you guys did that. You did a great job of finding who that was. You sent me that information. So I would write up a notice and demand because they're not expecting that. They're thinking you're going to shut up and just take it. And if you come up with a legitimate, like if you've already understand that you have a legitimate cause of action and you tell that lawyer for Amazon, hey, I think I have a legitimate cause of action here. In fact, I think you might be involved in fraud. Now, they don't really care like we do because Amazon costs to make this go away. That's how they think. But okay, fine. If they think that way, fine. I just want my money. And so that they just look at it like an insect. An insect is very efficient. It says, do I just have to cut a check to make it go away? Is it worth it? Or do I want to risk this being dragged out into court and maybe some other consequence is going to happen because now Amazon is being sued for fraud and maybe it's going to alert other people that want to sue Amazon for fraud and don't know how to do it. That may be your leverage, right?
Amazon's got a history of this. They're really a DARPA project anyway, but on their server farms, they ripped off people on the server farms too, just like they're all using the big servers for social stuff.
Okay, well, I'm
But
just
now on what you shared though, wouldn't it be best to communicate like with Kyle and say, hey, look, I'm going to sue you so I can do discovery on Amazon.
yeah, just like pick another person who has an Amazon store and just make a claim against each other, right? And then use that legal proceeding in discovery to subpoena all the records from Amazon. And what you can do is make the case that Amazon is the actual defendant, and then you just move to join necessary parties.
After you have all the discovery.
It wouldn't need to be a limited express. Wouldn't it be better if I sued Limited Express and did discovery
Whoever's willing
subpoena?
to work with you. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
would, whoever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whoever. So the only question then is, can we get into court with our companies? I don't know. That's one of the things, but maybe we don't need court. Maybe we need small claims. Maybe we need, look at arbitration. Maybe that might be a way to go.
See, the only thing about small claims though is when you get a judgment, small claims, it's not enforceable. We still have to enforce it ourselves.
Oh yeah, there's that, but I think you're
Yeah.
there. Once you state a cause of action, you get a judge to hear you. I think you're fine. The game's on. What, Mocha?
Let's set precedents.
Right, and then you send Amazon another letter
Yeah.
saying, that's it.
So you're not trying to like win and like they show you in the movie. You're not trying to do that. You will.
How
You'll get what you want. You just need to get me. I think we can do that.
how would you express the complaint against another, like if me and Ray sued each other? Like how would we
I would
express
say that Ray made a false claim to Amazon that I was selling counterfeit goods.
Excellent.
And
Because
I
then
would
that goes towards the discovery.
Yeah, I would just sue Ray for damages, right? I would just say, I'm suing Ray for $5,000. Who cares? All I want is a
Right.
case number. And what's Ray
Mhm.
gonna do? Is he gonna file a motion to dismiss? No, he's gonna file an answer and deny all the allegations or admit them. Who cares? I would file an answer, Ray, and deny him, right? That way the case keeps going. So you
Mhm.
deny the allegations and then you get into discovery.
Right, and this discovery is Amazon. How did you find out I was doing counterfeit goods? Who was your
Well,
tip off? Yeah.
Maybe, but you can also use a case like this. You can file a motion with the court to declare that you have 100% interest in your company that had a deal with Amazon. You can get a declaratory judgment out of it. So if you get a declaratory judgment, you can then use it later on to represent yourself. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. The whole idea is that if you can you can do this in arbitration. You can represent your company in arbitration, but if you have to go into the court, maybe small claims you can represent yourself too. But what you're really doing is you can do this because you are the interested party. You're not representing another party. That's why the court must let you. But I know you're going to have a problem with that. I know the court's going to, try to deny you and make you appeal them, and all this is going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, small claims is made for the people. It's made where you're not required to have an attorney. They don't hold any malice. It's made for the people.
I think
So
we
I
have a
would say,
remedy
so
on.
based on what we talked about, send a demand letter first, sue small claims,
Yeah,
plus
I think many
send a
people
small,
could
another
send a
demand
demand
letter.
letter. Yeah, do a
Yeah.
well-written demand letter, and I would recommend that you, like, if
Mhm.
you want to use AI to help you, but take a pretty good demand letter, like I know we can put together, and
Mhm.
don't copy and put your name on it and send it so it's identical. Right, you describe it. Everybody's set of facts are a little different. Then have the AI revise it so it's pertinent to your situation.
Mhm.
That way, when the general counsel, the same person gets, 15 letters, they're not all the same, but they're very similar. They're making the same claims, and he'll be like, "Oh crap, there's a lot of people that are organized here, and they're not just
Mhm.
cookie cutter." So that's what I'm saying. All right, we can do a demand letter. I mean, this is what I
Yeah.
do.
So I'm in touch with Richie on Kyle's team, so I'm getting an itemized record of all the attempts they have done to rectify this
That's
claim.
very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, this false counterfeit claim, so I can put it in the demand letter.
Here's what I'd recommend. If you guys want help with a demand letter, write one, and then we'll share ours with you. Don't expect me to just give you one.
Yeah.
It's your money too.
Because you
Yeah,
have to have your
I'm
own
gonna.
set of evidence in there too. Each person's got to have his own
I
set of
like it. I
circumstances
like
and
it. Yeah, the history of events, the evidence, all this. I love it.
evidence.
Contract has got to go in there. I mean, or the reference to it, the date of the
Mhm.
contract references to it. What I'm going to put, Elaine, is I'm going to put the notes I just showed you on the video. I'm going to put that on Telegram. Now, if somebody sends my team or myself a demand letter, I'll be happy to share my demand letter. And my recommendation is you take my demand letter and with your demand letter, your set of facts, and have the AI revise it so that it's a different letter, but it's similar.
Mhm. Right, so data on which how much you put in, when it got deactivated, when they
Your
said,
dates, yeah,
it's
your
counterfeit,
facts.
when you said, no, it's not.
Right,
Things
and
like
you failed to
that.
fulfill your duty under section C18 or whatever it was. You didn't investigate,
Mhm.
just,
Didn't investigate.
right.
Mhm.
And
That's
the
really
other thing
important to
too
claim.
is another way to go about this is to bring a claim into court against Amazon and one of the big Amazon. You can find out who a big seller is and just name them in there, see what happens. I don't know. I'm just saying these are some ideas.
And the big seller, this is where my brain goes, "Roar." The big seller, you just say, did you declare my stuff counterfeit? Is that what you're
You
saying?
just accuse them of it.
Okay.
They're big,
Got
they
it.
can handle it. They can
Right,
handle it.
right, right, right,
They won't
right,
break. They won't
right,
die.
right.
It's not nice. But look, I mean, I'm not trying to get political, but if you watch Trump talk about the tariffs, okay, and
Mhm.
he's saying, and we're friends, the Japanese tariffs, we're friends. They like me. And he knows it's just business, and he knows I'm right, and he agrees with me. He knows they've been exploiting us, but it's not nice. That's what Trump says. And so, it's just business. So, okay, we bring in somebody to the bar fight. We bring in the innocent guy that doesn't want to be part of the barroom brawl.
Mhm.
I just kicked him off the stool.
That's actually your wingman.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm
Maybe
just
it'll spread too, John, because everybody in the call needs to know if you do a search on
uh-huh.
this issue on the internet and any
Oh
search
my,
engine, if the whole country is eating up with it, they have bankrupt
We
Amazon
would be the most
stores.
effective group. We would be the
Yeah.
most effective group if we did some of these ideas, these strategies,
mhm.
and we would get some shit done. And maybe we have a nice, sweet deal with them later. And it's about business, okay? I don't hate them. They're insane.
Mhm.
Amazon's insane.
Mhm.
So let's just call them on it and say, look, you didn't follow your contract. In fact, you used a contract to deceive everyone, and it might even rise to the level of fraud. And so bring it like that. I just give you one quick story. Okay, this is probably not related. I don't know, but this is what comes to mind. I was working with a client a long time ago, and it was an HOA battle. So stupid. He was already in court with these idiots before and the board wanted discovery. And I read the discovery, it was just ugly. Like, why do you want to know the color of his underwear? I mean, it was just ridiculous, right? I'm exaggerating, but I said to him, okay, you're dealing with a bunch of psychopaths. Here's what you do. You go into court and you have good manners and all this, and all you do is politely argue and object to everything the other side says regarding the discovery request, and you act like a petty child, a petty, someone who's, you're just being a jerk, but a polite one. And I said, what will happen is the other side's going to do the same thing, because that's what lawyers do. You're just pushing his buttons, okay? What will happen is after a short time, the judge will get pissed off and say, okay, stop, and he'll make you all shut up, and he'll order everybody to produce all the requested discovery without objection. And he's like, what? How do you know this? I said, I don't, but probably that's what's going to happen, because if I were the judge, that's what I would do. You bunch of little children. That's what he's going to be thinking. You little children. Nobody gets objections. Give me all the data. I'm the judge. I want to see it all. Right? And after the hearing, he came back, he met me, he was laughing. He goes, man, that's exactly what the judge did. So if we make a big stink here and we do it in a way that's very plausible, that we correctly, identify the failings and the violations, and we do it in such a way that it just makes such a quagmire on our side, and that shows that there's, 8 of us or 27 of us is better, that we have all this chaos going on, right? And you pull in a couple of the other big guys that aren't really, maybe they're in, you pull them in, and then their chief counsel calls up the chief counsel for Amazon and says, what are you doing? We're getting sued. We didn't do anything wrong, right? That's how you get things done. Future going forward, I'm just saying it like this because if it's some other type of arrangement or business deal, I would probably say walk away, okay? But Amazon is going to be here for a century. Probably Walmart is too. There's going to be a few big retailers that are going to be around, and I think you want a piece of the action. And I think you don't want them pushing you around, because pretty soon you're going to find Amazon delivering goods through trucks driving through your neighborhood, which you already see, but you're not going to see a driver get out of the truck. What you're going to see is this raining down of drones, leaving the truck, coming back to the truck, leaving the truck as it's driving down the street. That's the future. Amazon ain't going away, and it's going to get even more pervasive, and we need a piece of the action. You don't want to not have a piece of the action. That's my take on it.
Question.
Yeah.
So to summarize where we're at, are we talking about replacing the idea of doing the small claims court, or is that like maybe everybody should do the small claims and then this is the second level?
Yeah, I think everybody should do demand letter. Look at the option of doing a small claim. Those two things. You should do the demand letter, wait for the response. Do a small claims if you don't get a remedy. Go to small claims, but also consider working with other people. Maybe Kyle can help connect some of you. Maybe he might go to the group and say, hey, there's some of you out there that have proposed this idea. Maybe share this video with them. Okay, just the clip of it, the segment that I'm talking about this, and see if, and I will be doing work on it because I have an interest in it. I'll be doing work on it and I don't mind sharing it, but I'm not just going to give it to you all. You have to do some work too and participate. I'm not charging any money for this.
Well, can we get like Ray or Moko to start a Telegram group and so we can all join that?
I don't know that I would do that. I mean, why don't you do that?
Okay, I'll do that.
Start one and join it. I'll participate. All right. But yeah, you're welcome to do a group or 2 or 3. I don't care. But we can collaborate with each other. I'm happy to do that. And this will show you, demonstrate the power of working together. And I'll share, but you got to share too.
Yeah, I sent an email to Kyle, John,
Okay.
and I explained to him what we talked about the other day about the demand letters and all. And I said,
Yeah.
well, how many people do you have that have been ripped off? They said 50%. Now, what's Richie told me? So I emailed Kyle and said, look.
What's the number of them? Like 20?
He never would give me that. I don't know what that number is total. If it's 2,000 or what it is, but it's 50%.
Know, but okay.
And so, but I said, well, if you want to get those people together, we'll give them a call, and then everybody will send a demand letter at the same time. And then, of course,
well, I want them to watch this video because I think
and follow
to be
through.
effective, we need to have a unique letter for every situation.
Hmm.
Don't do a boilerplate, change the names and dates that thing. They'll just laugh at you.
Hmm.
I mean, they'll be a little surprised that you have so many people doing the same thing, but if you have it written well, you're going to have much better results.
The numbers will be a difference because there's a lot of lawsuits against Amazon now. But
I know, I know. I would like to read them too. If you guys can get a hold of them, I'd like to read and find out what other people are saying.
I posted one.
Okay.
I'll bring it back up too. It was one. I mean, some people they've taken $50,000 of inventory, $50,000 of money. I mean, big numbers.
Well,
And
okay.
shut it down.
All right. Well, anyways, that's my take on it. I hope this helps.
John,
Yeah.
where are you going to post the video again, please?
This video I'm going to put on YouTube. I'll make it public.
And which YouTube channel? Tell me the channel.
Ace of Coins.
Ace of Coins YouTube.
Yeah. My same
Okay.
channel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's still, I was able to change the name of it.
Okay, Lyle posted an Amazon group link.
It's not Privacy Fight anymore. I think it's Ace of Coins.
Okay.
And I'll give you the link to Telegram. Yeah, Telegram's a really good tool to use if you guys are, that's like I like that for announcing things. So
Yeah. Telegram is a good thing. YouTube.
John, several people are claiming that Limits Express is guilty here. Can you comment?
I don't know that there's any why of what.
One person said that they thought the documentation was false.
What documentation of what? Well, okay, if that's the case, ask Kyle to weigh in on that. I don't know. I don't think so, but I would ask Kyle to respond to that. Because I saw where Amazon was asking for bills of lading and things like this, right? All these little documentations that go along with your inventory. And Kyle was providing it. So I don't know what's going on with that. You can ask him, but that's not the problem. The problem is what Amazon's doing. Now, maybe Amazon has a legitimate reason. Maybe there's this beyond that just simple making a counterfeit claim. But if they're not going to investigate, they're just going to shut you down. I think they're doing it because you're a small seller. I think ultimately that's the issue. So I don't know. That's something you want to confer with Kyle on, okay?
Yeah, and I really am trying to get an answer of what is the fake brand authorization letter? What does that
I don't know
mean?
what that is.
It's probably the chain of
So you're required to have a brand authorization letter to sell products from a certain company. You have to have them authorize you to sell it. And I was given 3 of these for 3 companies. They were all used the same fake font to sign by some alleged representative of the company, and and I asked, and Amazon told me that was the reason for deactivating my account. I asked Limits Express to verify that these were legitimate, and they could not do that. So that's how I came to the conclusion that these were fake.
Okay, well, you want to get that information. Did Kyle give that to you?
I've been dealing with several people from Limits Express. Kyle's.
Well, I mean, Limits Express, yeah. So
Yeah, one
ask,
of them.
ask him, talk to him.
I mean,
Say,
it's
do
already
this.
done and gone in
Get
the
me a
past.
real one. Yeah, get me a real one. Tell him. What's up? Why didn't you get a real one? Why is this? Now you got to deal with the situation. So yeah, let me know because I didn't talk to Kyle about that. But it'd be worth it to look into
Any
it.
of you have copies of brand authorization letters that they submitted to
Yeah.
Amazon?
Yeah, check those
Take
out
a look at them and take a look at the signatures on all of them. They're all the same font. It's
and
just
check and see if the company actually did that.
yeah. I
Mhm.
tried to communicate with all the different companies. Couldn't get an answer from any of them. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, it'd be worth it to look into that. But anyways, I'm sorry y'all in that situation. I'm with you. I'm exactly in that situation too. But I just look at it like anything else. It's like the weather. It's just like the weather. I don't get angry at the clouds. So you just have
yeah,
to work.
I've done. I'm working with them at Walmart now. So whatever.
Yeah.
Hope
Yeah,
for the
just go and do another deal. We're making money at Walmart. It's not outrageous, but it's building up. We're doing pretty good. And there's other opportunities, But I mean, at any one time I've got like 8 or 12 things I'm doing, So one thing you have to weigh how much time I'm going to put in there. You try not to take it personally. A lot of times I get, at the beginning of something, I might get angry. You guys have heard me. But after a while, if you want to be effective, you got to focus on working the problem. And that's about communicating and then coming up with, a pragmatic way to deal with it. And that's what I wanted to share with y'all. And I really encourage you to, not let this discourage you from other opportunities and continue doing it. I'm with Walmart, you know.
Yeah.
So can you repeat what needs to be done for the demand letter? Just the general idea.
All right,
To
y'all.
whom?
Unless you want to add anything. This is recorded, so anybody want to add anything? All
Yeah.
right.
Your
Wait,
facts, what you claim happened, when you and then also saying that you believe that this was done fraudulently, and and you could chat GPT it, and also listen to what John wrote in the beginning, said in the beginning.
addressed to whom? The lead counsel, you said?
Yeah, Amazon's legal counsel.
I'd be willing to share that. I mean, you guys did that, right?
Yeah, I'll see if I can
Okay.
find it.
I'd be willing to share that, and we can put that on
Telegram.
Telegram for everyone if you guys like. I'm okay with that if you guys are. I think
Sure.
Ray and Moko got that.
I'll
I
find
didn't.
it.
They've got different chief counsels. I think the chief counsel for Amazon in the States is California for the whole country.
So if we did small claims, it would be in California, right?
Yeah, probably. You could probably try it in your state. I don't know. I'd have to look at the venue on the contract. Yeah. Well, I hope this helps and maybe gives you some insight on how to look at things in the future if you ever have this happen again. It will happen if you're trying to, do something different. If you're trying to do a thing different to make money in this world, in this country, you're going to run into these things. And I welcome it because it's just, I'd rather deal with that than hoping my boss gives me a good raise. You know? Yeah, if it's just limits express clients, I wonder about that. That's
It's
why I'd
not.
like to. Yeah, it's more. Yeah. I mean, I could tell you about 4 or 5 years ago, I had the same problem, but that's why I stopped working with Amazon. I thought we fixed that, but it's the small sellers getting abused. And you'll find it if you go on YouTube, you'll see. If you go search on small sellers at Amazon getting abused or whatever, you'll see all kinds of cases out there now, which is the case. I would like to, take a shot at them too. I think we can be pretty effective. All right. Well, I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks,
Right.
y'all.
Thank you, John. Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
Good weekend, y'all.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank
Night.
you.